I lost at everything for 15 years before it started going right.
You're a person with layers, and actually being positive is a choice, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was kind of like a defense mechanism. I remember being in my pants, laying on a floor when Graham Norton walked into the room and introduced himself for the first time.
Hello and welcome to the Eras podcast, where we get into the music and moments that have made your favourite artists who they are today. I'm your host, Abbie McCarthy, and I'm going to be joined by the critically acclaimed vocal powerhouse that is Sam Ryder. We're going to be chatting new music, viral moments and Eurovision. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Eras podcast, Sam Ryder.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to get into it. Obviously, new music and a new sound, but Sam, I want to rewind it all the way back to your beginnings. What would be like your first musical memory?
Yeah, I've definitely got one of those. I remember singing along to Freddie Mercury in the car. Like my parents had this red Volvo. Like when I was growing up, I remember. And it's weird, you can even remember the checkered pattern on the seats. Like going back, I can remember the smell of that car, do you know what I mean? And I just remember living on my own, Freddie Mercury playing. It was probably Radio 2 even back then. I think whatever car they've had, the radio has been like smashed to that station and then the dial has been ripped off. Like,
yeah.
Never
Radio 2 done,
exactly.
Locked in.
It's a bit like doo-doo-da-doo. And I remember
amazing.
just being an annoying little kid singing along to that every single time.
And was music like a big thing at home? Like, would it always be playing?
Yeah,
like, your
my
family
parents
all
are,
big music
like,
fans?
Chronically, like listening to Earth, Wind and Fire. I've never, if they listened to Spotify, if they had, like, they stream music, they would be in like the 0.05s at the end of the year. They're wrapped, you know, for Earth, Wind and Fire. If it's going to be a band, Earth, Wind and Fire is one I can get on board with for just absolute loop listens.
And then when you started getting into your music yourself, you were like, look, Earth, Wind and Fire, as much as I love you, I'm going to start finding my own music taste.
It hasn't grated on me at all. I still listen to it now.
Seriously? That's good.
Mate, but the thing is, it's in my veins. I just know every little part of those songs. They definitely set me on a path that I would return to later. But when I kind of got into, I don't know, you know when you buy your own music instead of listening to your parents, or, you know, you find your own almost tribe at school, and then you start listening to bands that, you know, your friends are telling you about, or CDs that people are burning and then passing around. Like, that's how I got into like Slipknot and Sum 41 and Iron Maiden. I actually found an Iron Maiden CD on a bus. It was all like scratched up. And I went to a Catholic school and we were on a trip to go and tour a nunnery, which we were buzzing about. Mental. Yeah, there was this Iron Maiden CD. You must know like Iron Maiden artwork.
Yeah,
like
of course.
Eddie, just like ripping his heart out in this icy landscape. And I was like, well, this shouldn't be here.
Yeah, what is this?
It was literally like a kind of I can imagine if Jack Black was playing the scene. Do you know what I mean? As a little kid, like picking this up with his Catholic school, like, yeah, I could imagine Jack Black picking that CD up, and that's when the credits roll. But it was that, but it was all scratched up, and the only song that would play is the aptly named "The Evil That Men Do," and so I put it in my Walkman and listened to that, and it just changed. It was like that's where the dolly zoom would happen as well in the movie. Like, my world just absolutely, every like door and window I didn't even know were there just like burst open, and then the entire spectrum of colour of heavy metal flooded in. And then I started joining, and made my first band, joined punk bands, metal bands, and it was just all that sort of stuff. Made some terrible music, love it.
I want to ask you about these bands, because some epic band names. We've got The Morning After, Blessed by a Broken Heart, Close Your Eyes. I mean, some classics. And I had a listen because I was like, I don't really know this, you know.
How long do you listen for?
I actually listened for a while. I went right down a rabbit hole. You don't need to worry about that. I mean, one was kind of like glam rock. The other was kind of metal. There was loads of like quite a punk edge in there as well.
Yeah.
What do you like remember of those times? Because that must have been such a wild ride. Like,
so
liking rock music and then just being like, you know what, I'm going to go make it.
Well, I made like all of these bands really, apart from The Morning After, that was the band I made with my friends in school. And shout out Jay and Reese and Phil. So like we kind of, I don't know, started playing Green Day and the Darkness covers in school assembly. And I remember there was like, again, Catholic school, we had the nativity like thing at the end of the year, like just before you leave, and there was all the Christmas decorations. Kind of like, I remember there being a manger at the front of the stage, and I remember me and Phil like jumping on that to do the solo in I Believe in a Thing Called Love, like little Jesus in the hay manger, like rattling about from our amps. Funny, right? Because I can't remember really anyone liking our music or coming to the shows, but we toured around the UK, we toured around all of Europe until it fizzled out, basically.
Well, I actually found an old video of you, and you're right at the barrier and you're singing with fans, and it's on the Warped Tour, and obviously they were like...
yeah, so that's with Close Your Eyes.
That was like so legendary to do that, and you know, for the rock community, that was kind of like the go-to thing, wasn't it? So like, was that a bucket list moment for you at that point?
Yeah, I remember... So I would work with my dad, like in construction and carpentry. Worst carpenter ever, by the way.
Sure?
Yeah,
What do you reckon of this?
Well, I could only dream. Working with my dad was amazing because he knew that I had this like dream of making my own music and running that down, you know. And so he let me come and work with him. And then when opportunities like Warped Tour come up, I like sort of shyly go back into my dad, who's like under so much pressure to finish all this stuff. I'm like, Dad, you know, like I'm the only person helping you. I need to go away for 2 months. He's like, 2 months? Yeah, it's Warped Tour. How sick is that? And like, but he was such a legend, man. I mean, he is such a legend. Like, believing in me to let me go and do that, and then like coming back when I've spent every single penny I have, and then being like, Dad, can I come work in? Yeah, sure.
Were your family always supportive, like right from the
they're
beginning?
amazing. Like I had no sort of leg up or foot in the industry because my parents, God bless them, like just no one. Like I didn't have any. I just wouldn't know who could be a connection or anything like that. And my parents sort of saw that, but they were like, if I can't sort of help you walk the miles, I'll make sure I do what I can to get you the shoes. Do you know what I mean? So like when I remember my first job was in McDonald's drive-thru, and it was like a bit of a, like working the drive-thru at McDonald's at night in a small town is dodgy anyway. Like you get, like I remember getting in a fight there, and it was sketchy. So when I went and told because I would like cycle back and forwards. So you don't like, even just leaving it at night could be
You'd
dodgy.
be like, cycling so quick, get me home.
That night, honestly, it was like a movie again in my head. Like I must get home absolutely now. And I remember telling them about that, and we're like, we can't have you working there anymore. Like, how about you try and like be an apprentice with your dad and try and learn a bit of carpentry, which again, not very good.
Yeah, so the carpentry era, done.
Yeah, carpentry is done.
Yeah. But what did you take from that era of, you know, the Warped Tour and playing in those bands? Is there anything that's kind of stayed with you to this day?
For me, like I'm buzzing because that feels like an era of time that we don't do that as much now in bands, like driving around in old post office LDVs with like all the sun bleached sides from eras gone by of like it being used by different companies until it's literally on its last legs and it finds its way to a band. And it was almost like surf culture for me, like that era of time. I reckon someone could make like a nice coffee table book with all like the era of touring bands in transit vans, like around UK and Europe. And that was really a scene and like super different actually to the US. Like in the way that bands would do it here. Going to the US for the first time and playing in Close Your Eyes was wicked because it was way more like hardcore punk, and is a genre I hadn't really I loved, but I'd never been in a band like that before. But, you know, back then I just wanted to play. So when I was in a band and it felt like it was dying off, or like, AKA everyone was fed up of being skint and wanted to like move on with life, which is natural.
Yeah,
I kind of could smell that out. And I was like, right, I need to make sure like the party doesn't stop. Do you know what I mean? And I want to join another band. So it's like a flea on the back of a series of dying dogs, just like jumping around. And I ended up in this band, Close Your Eyes, from Abilene, Texas. God knows why.
Wow.
And, but
now, how did that happen, genuinely?
Well, I saw on MySpace that they, or Facebook, God knows, actually, I can't remember like where it was. I saw it, but that they needed a singer. And I remember being in, where was I? I was in Nashville at the time, actually, in Belmont College. I didn't go to Belmont, but my friend did, and he let me stay on his floor.
Ideal.
So I was literally like failure to launch. Like everyone else is like waking up every day, going to lessons, and I'm just sitting in the cafeteria eating tuna rolls, like gaining actual weight, like doing nothing and just eating tuna all day. You're skint. You can't do anything. You can't go anywhere. But yeah, I heard they needed a singer, and I was like, right, cool. I feel like the band I'm in at the moment are kind of ready to, like I say, move on and join society, and I'm not. So
I never will.
Yeah, so I remember going to one of my friend's dorms that night. A guy called Brendan, he's such a legend. I was actually eating breakfast with him 2 days ago.
Oh, no
we
way.
like reconnected, and sitting in his room, and he'd never really like. They were all going to college to learn recording, but had never like done much of it before. And I was like, "Can you help me like make an audition tape?" Just the most janky little recording that we did. I love you, Brendan. It was good, but like it done the job anyway. So it got me in the band, and then next thing we know, we're touring. We like our first thing was Warped Tour. So I was like buzzing.
You were like, this is
So
it.
cool.
You were going from, band to band, struggling a little bit to make ends meet, like you were saying, going back and doing odd jobs
I
and
weren't
stuff.
struggling, just weren't.
Yeah.
It's literally dollar menu every night.
Yeah.
And just starving yourself and drinking free beer. Yeah, amazing time. And did some wicked stuff. And that sort of stuff gives you a real thick skin because there's nothing glitzy about it whatsoever. It is just hard yards. And you're doing it for like the passion of live music, because there's no kind of virality back then of doing it. It's just pure, unfiltered kind of like live punk music. And like you're playing in some underground bar in Berlin, and it's just about the moment. And then you finish it, you get in your van and you go and eat $1 burger in a drive-through and then go to the next place.
Yeah.
Wicked.
And you go again.
Yeah.
So what did keep you going in those early days? Like you say, I guess it was...
Well, you're just stoked.
Yeah, pure passion. Or did you kind of know that, did you believe that your moment in the sun, your time in music was going to come?
Mate, you know what? I don't really know, because in my head it wasn't about making it at that point, because you've already made it. Because you're reading, I don't know, like one of my favourite bands, like I said, is Iron Maiden. So I knew all their history. Like I wanted to make it the same way Iron Maiden made it, and they was played around the East End.
Yeah.
Like, and they went through all the sort of stuff that bands go through, where their van gets broken into, all their gear gets stolen, they have to start from scratch. All the kind of things, actually, these problems don't tend to really exist in the same manner as in the more like pop world now that I kind of got into over the last 4 years. Like different, and again, it's really, I don't know, I'm so happy that I experienced that life, because it's a world away. And while I'm like, I feel like I did my hours there and I earned my stripes there, there's certainly, just because I'm not in it anymore doesn't mean that I don't treasure it and really cherish it, because it was incredible, even when you do get your passport stolen in Porto and you can't get home.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's like shit like that happens all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
like
Beautiful chaos though, by
it is.
the
It's
sounds of it.
That's the way. It
Yeah.
is. Beautiful chaos. Like I said, someone needs to make a coffee table book of all the bands in that scene around that time.
You need to make a book though. You've got quite the story. And I was reading that you had like a surfing accident, and this was pretty huge for you. That's when you thought, do you know what? My calling is music. My heart is telling me I've really got to go for this full throttle. So take us back to that moment.
Well, I've had a few actual near-death experiences,
Sorry,
and
what?
like the first one I remember, I was just going to say, your first one's always like, but that's taken, like, I don't know, just assuming everyone has near-death experiences. I remember working with my dad, and there was this big saw machine, and basically like when people pushed wood through the saw blade, it's called a table saw, like this kind of arm would do that because it pivoted, but you can't see behind it. And I was like sweeping up the workshop because that was kind of my like duties. That was how bad my carpentry was at the beginning. But this bar like pushed into a wall, so it basically would crush anything that was there. And I remember I didn't know anyone was on the saw, and I was like sweeping up everything, but my head was right there.
No.
And in my peripheral I saw this thing coming, and it was like I pulled my head out and felt the thing as it went past. And I remember texting this girl I was seeing at the time being like, almost died. Like, you know, you kind of romanticize it as a movie in your head. You're like 17 years old or whatever. Like,
but I'm still here.
Yeah, but I'm still here.
We can be together.
Yeah. Like, no.
But the surfing accident, that was pretty serious.
Oh yeah, that was serious. And I almost drowned in Hawaii, which would be a nice place to go, I suppose. I'm trying to find a silver lining, but it was really
positive as ever. I love
that. But no, it was like after a storm. So on the beach where it happened, it was Hanalei Bay, which is the north shore of Kauai, which is like absolutely beautiful in all seriousness. It's a gorgeous place. But there'd been a storm a couple of nights before, and what a lot of people do when storms happen on the North Shore, like actual full trees get washed up on the beach because they like get caught in the rivers and they basically all end up to sea, get washed up on the shore. So people make these big teepees like on the beach from them, and they look really sick. But when you're surfing anywhere, kind of a good rule of thumb is to, like, wherever you are, look out to the shore to kind of make yourself like come back to a marker on the beach. So whether it's a house or a tree or something like that. So if you are always in line with it, you know you haven't moved or been caught in a rip, you know. And on this day, stupidly, I don't know why I did it, but I used one of those teepees. Problem is they were all along the beach.
So you totally lost track of where you are.
So it was totally my fault. I lost track of where I was and I got swept up, and the waves always get bigger towards the, if you're looking out to sea towards the left side, towards like an area called Pine Trees. But the swell is so much like more hectic there, especially after a storm. You wouldn't even, it's not for surfing even, it's just too big. So, but I found myself in this spot and it was terrifying because, the waves were massive. It was like kind of, and when you're laying down as well, looking up, it's like looking up at the roof of a house where the lip of the wave is.
Gosh.
So you're kind of getting swept out there and you don't realize it till it's too late. So the sets are coming in, and the first one where I knew I was in trouble was it kind of came straight over my head, and you want to dive, just jump off your board and dive as deep as you can so that the lip doesn't hit you hard. But you still get caught up in like the turbulence under the water. But the lip of the wave missed me, hit my surfboard, which was like this amazing 9-foot vintage single fin, which is basically like, a irreplaceable board.
Oh, no.
Like made by this guy called Sparky, and probably like the late 80s or something. This board's so cool, and it snapped it in half. And then so I came up, saw my board like bounce in the air in half, and I was like, holy shit, I've never seen water that powerful, and I'm right in it.
Yeah.
And I can't get out because I'm far away from the shore. And I don't know if you're like, you've obviously been in the sea.
Yes. Familiar with the sea's work.
Yep. But like, you've obviously got where the waves are breaking, and then after that you've got a bunch of white water, like foamy sort of nonsense, like before the shore, which is usually fine. But when it's really heavy, that white water becomes almost like impossible to swim in because it's just bubbles. So you can't swim in it like normal water. So to swim back to shore was almost as dangerous as being out there. So I was really, for the first time in the sea, which I love being in water, proper Cancerian, but I was terrified because I didn't know what to do. And then the next wave came and it hit me straight on the head because I didn't have time to come up and breathe, looked at my board, and then the next wave was coming. So it was like a big set of waves, and it pushed me so far down. I've never seen the water, like I've obviously shut my eyes, but you know, if you shut your eyes now, you can still tell there's light in the room. Yeah.
Oh, so it was like so dark.
But it went pitch black and freezing cold because you're like shoved so deep in the water and you're getting span around like in a washing machine. And I was down for ages. So because you can't just like get hit and then swim back up because you're basically in a vortex. And
you must have been like, this is it.
Well, I just kind of, it felt like blacking out. Like I had no air, and you're so struggling. You know, when you're like just kicking, you don't know what direction you're going in either because you're in a sort of, like I said, like a washing machine basically. And then I got up and washed up on the beach, and my partner had run over, Lois, and I was just like laying on the sand, where like my eyes were bright red, and I was in bed for a week after that. I could like all my
just
muscles
knocked out by it. Yeah,
pulled. And I remember that being one, I was like, thank God I'm alive, but also,
ouch.
What am I going to tell my friend about this surfboard?
Oh no!
I know, because it's like a treasured possession.
Obviously, they're happy
if the
you're
waves
alive.
didn't kill me, I was it's like in my head, I'm going to tell her, Jenny, I almost died and the board's broken. What?
yeah. And she's like, no, the board.
Yeah.
No.
What about the board?
Thank God you lived to tell the tale, and you did pursue music, which is very much your calling.
Yeah, so
and
before, like during that, I was kind of singing at weddings and like making music in my own studio, kind of, I feel like prepping what was going to be what happened in lockdown and stuff like that, you know? But I think that definitely kind of put the afterburners on.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, it really felt close, you know?
Yeah.
And I just needed to make sure there was nothing left in the tank.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Give everything to music.
Yeah.
The artists we speak to on the Eras podcast all started somewhere, experimenting, finding their sound and chasing that first breakthrough. And if you're on that journey too, having the right tools is what makes all the difference. And that is where Gear for Music, today's sponsor, comes in. So whatever stage you're at, they've got you. I'm telling you, they've got the instruments, the tech, the equipment to help you create, record and perform at your very best. From guitars and synths to studio mics and drum kits, plus all the latest releases from over 1,000 brands, all in one place. With worldwide shipping and a dedicated customer service team, Gear for Music make it as easy as possible to get your next essential piece of kit. And buying gear is a massive decision, but every purchase comes with a 3-year warranty and a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you can shop with confidence, with ease. Head to gearformusic.com today and take the next step in your musical journey. And like you say, you had such a moment in lockdown with loads of viral moments on TikTok, which we'll get into in a bit, but you sort of formed your team and started working with your manager way before that, right?
Yeah, so I had a manager, so you know the guy's dorm room going back to Nashville, I slept on the floor of and ate tuna rolls in the cafe. That is a guy called Derek Gridley, who is now on the management team at the project. But even back then, he was like at Belmont learning to be a manager. And I was like, well, do you want to manage me? I've never had one.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, yeah, I'll give it a go.
Incredible.
So he got involved and then he had to take a step back because everything became very UK focused in the lockdown area. And unfortunately, Derek had to take a step back but now I've rectified that. He's back in. And but we had some like amazing people looking after it in the interim as well, like from 2020 onwards. And so all love to them. And but yeah, Derek's back involved now, which is cool. It kind of feels to me like I don't know, it's going back not just musically to the roots and the start of this, but ethos wise as well. Like it has a bit for me of that punk rock transit van spirit, going back to the people that were there from really day one.
Yeah. Not
Not just day one when it kind of went off, but day one when no one gave a shit.
Yeah, and that's so important, isn't it? To
There's
bring
2
through
day ones.
Bring through the people that you came up with, because obviously when you had these viral moments, all of a sudden, I'm sure, you know.
Yeah, your phone rings.
Hello.
Do you know? Yeah. And then I do notice like all the emails I sent to people in the like years before that finally getting replied to. So yeah, you see these things. And listen, I understand it. Like everyone's out there trying to make the bag, you know, and I get it. And but it's very important that there are some people like, I don't know, God works in mysterious ways, and the people like come into your life and they're there from day one, and everyone has those people.
Yeah.
Like very rarely do you find someone that has no one to support them or just root for you. And yeah, I think that all of us try as best as we can, hopefully, to stick around with those people.
Take us back then to the moment that you decided, I'm going to join TikTok, I'm going to give this a go, I'm going to start sharing my voice with people. Like, where were you at with everything at that particular point?
To be honest, I'm a little bit stubborn. Like, I wanted to make it, like I said earlier, the same way as my heroes made it. Problem is that world didn't exist anymore. But Derek was like, you should get TikTok and do some singing on it. And I was like, no way, man. Like, people are just dancing on this thing. It's meant like...
They were at the beginning, though. I remember joining and being like, I'm not sure on this.
How do I exist in this kind of like environment? Got the algorithm to stop sending me like the dancers and found like this little subculture actually of singers. While it wasn't heavy metal or punk rock at all, it was a scene for sure. And really that's the spirit of those genres. Like, it's about a scene and it's about looking out for each other and supporting each other and being part of it. But I did find like there was a kind of a group of like, it's a subculture of people just singing, like, but mad good singers. And I was like, I don't want to sit on the sidelines of this because I'm inspired to sing just by watching this person sing. I know how they feel, how they're like as they're singing this, you know? And I feel like I've been working my whole life loving singing and being, I don't know, just singing's such a massive part of my life. And I was like, I'm going to use another surfing analogy, right? There's a moment in time where everyone was kind of thought that the only real way of surfing was if you paddled onto a wave. So you got on a surfboard and you had to catch it yourself. And then after a moment in time, people wanted to ride the massive waves, but you can't paddle onto them. You have to get a jet ski to tow you onto them. All these people that were saying, that's not real surfing, man, getting towed on by a machine to a wave. Jerry Lopez said, well, it feels like surfing to me. So like, for me, it was kind of remembering that when it came to music, you know, like, it doesn't matter how you get there, like, because that world is consistently changing all the time. And I'm not going to make it the way that I made it by playing in the East End in all the clubs, because those clubs don't exist. They've become something else. They're flats now. So maybe it is TikTok and maybe it is singing Hit Me Baby One More Time in my mum's kitchen. Yeah. And it was.
That was the first one, wasn't it?
It was one of them, yeah. Then like singing Sia and just finding, I guess, how epic that is. And it might not be like what I expected, but once I let go of my idea of expectation, that's when things got magic.
What is it? Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
You were there.
Exactly.
And you were like, look at me, I'm quite good. And you know, what do you remember about that early reaction on TikTok? Like,
you kind of know this because I've like seeing and listening to other episodes, there's so many people that have similar stories. Like, a lot, it's just part of the culture now.
Yeah.
A lot of it begins like the sort of the magnesium lights online, and it kind of starts off quite blindingly in different sort of factors. But I mean, it was weird for us. Like, I mean, I just sang in my shed, like into my phone, and it was a moment in time where, like, for the culture of music or whatever, that kind of worked. But listening back to them now, there's a shift in the culture of how we like share music on socials now.
Yes.
Like, it was funny, like, I was listening to some of those old videos just the other day. These sound so raw now because it's just me singing into the microphone on my phone.
Yeah, well, that was it, wasn't it? A cappella, your little green lamp in the corner, you just belting.
And I had to stand like probably about this distance from the speaker, just in a room literally like this, and I had to get the volume just right. I put a little bit of tape on the floor where I found and like put a mark on the volume control where it was like, that's how loud the speaker needs to be so it doesn't overpower me. Now it's very much kind of like you lip sync to the song. That's kind of where the culture is at for it. So, and it sounds so polished now, which is a cool thing. Like, it's just where we're at. But now I listen to the old videos and it's like, it's almost like listening to a live recording compared to like the studio version. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I just remember seeing some of those early videos and being like, oh my God, he is so good. Like, just like the control of it. Because you were taking on
man.
You know, like, you weren't messing about. You're taking on massive artists. It was like, I remember the Adele one, Set Fire to the Rain. There was obviously Alicia Keys.
Well, I was like, if I'm going to go for this, then I want to sort of like throw my hat in the ring with like the greats, because I wanted to aspire to be like as good as I could be, you know, because I love singing and I've been doing it since I was 14 years old, like in bands, and then before that just singing like an idiot in my room, like everyone does. Like, everyone starts like just singing to Journey or like Aerosmith on your radio or whatever. And then so I definitely did those 10,000 hours when it came
100%.
to singing, but I learned so much. Like I said, the cool stuff like touring in bands and that, but like singing at people's weddings where really no one cares.
I always think this about wedding singers and also buskers, because you're not like the focal point, so you actually have to work harder to really capture someone's attention.
Yeah, and you know
that'll
what?
make you better.
Sometimes you don't capture people's... In fact, most nights of the week, it's like, you're doing 3 weddings a week and no one really cares. But they don't care in the most beautiful way, because then you're not there for them to care about. They're like seeing people they haven't met in years. Like, they're having awkward conversations. They're being like, oh, God, they're here. Yeah. Like, they do not care about you singing, like, Sam Cooke. Do you know what I mean?
You're like, did you not notice that arrangement? I actually changed the key, guys, and I hit that note.
You literally took the words out of my mouth, because one of the first gigs I did, that was going through my mind. They're going to love this key change.
They're lapping this up.
This modulation, they're going to floor. like they're going to be buzzing. And then you close your eyes, do your thing, like, nail your vocal run you've been practicing in the week, and then no one gives a shit. And it's so beautiful, but at the time you're like, that's a reality check. This is what this is going to be like. If I want to do this has to be for like my own learning. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, so it's not necessarily made you a better performer, it's more about the intention. You're just doing it for the love of it,
which I think is way more important than like, and everyone wants to, like, I guess, do the glittery stuff, like be, I don't know, get on stage and stuff like that, but it's the intention. That's the important stuff, and that's what separates energy, and it's what makes people different to be around, I think. Like, because you either use your presence to impress or to encourage. And that's what I notice if I meet different people within this industry or any walk of life, and that's what draws me to them. If I feel like people use their energy to encourage other people, that's what makes me feel like they have like an abundance of empathy and like a self-awareness. Do you know what I mean? And so I think intention is everything, because that's also what I feel is the secret to some of the best singers out there, because they're doing it for like a connection, searching for a deeper connection.
I actually think with a lot of my favourite artists, it's almost like, even if they never made it out of their local pub where they sing, they have to do it. It's like it's just something they have to do. It's not
it's
not
like
a
the
choice.
Gym, essentially, or any kind of, like, it could be a spiritual practice or any, like, a grounding, like, but it's true. It sounds wafty, but it is. It's true. You think like someone like Stevie Wonder, for example, if he wasn't famous, do you think he wouldn't play and he wouldn't sing? There's no way. Like, so of course he's gonna, like, it's like just watching him, you can see it's his channeling, like a want to create music that starts off somewhere in the air, in the ether, it enters his mind, and then he's like creates the song out of it. And that's how all the songs, like the best songs, are made. In fact, that's how everything is created, I think.
It shows that when you were like, I'm doing it for the right reasons, all the good stuff happened to you as well. Like, you know, it was popping off on TikTok in such a huge way. Who were the first artists who gave you that kind of seal of approval?
I remember Justin Bieber and Sia were like this kind of duo that they weren't like a band.
A super group. We love Sam Ryder. So they led the fan club, you could say.
they kind of lit the fuse, definitely. Wow. Honestly, it was kind of, every time there was like a video going out, someone would, like, with some kind of profile or notoriety, support it in such a kind and generous way. It was really sick, and it was wild. It kind of like, there's a book called The Tipping Point, and it made me realize that that's what was happening. It's kind of like once, and it's so interesting because it happens in society and culture in so many ways, whether it's fashion or books or like art galleries. Like, once a certain amount of people in the public eye root for something, it's almost like people want to be involved in it as well. And that's what that felt like, because one thing to remember when that happens, if anyone watching it happens to you, is that it lasts for a moment in time. It can't be, because that's the whole sort of nature of this industry. So I very much saw that for what it was. Even at the time, I was like, this is really cool, and I'm so thankful for it. But I know that this isn't the work, that the work will happen and start actually after this. This is kind of like, I treated it as, especially when the first one, when Sia kind of like publicly kind of just, I guess, rooted for me, which is in a really lovely way. I remember thinking, it's kind of like someone like welcoming you into the house, but now you've got to sort of find your seat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, just a kind of, hey, what's up?
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. It's like your moment in the spotlight, and that's when the hard work really begins, and you've really got to show off what you can do. And you did that. You took that. You are definitely, for me, one of the best vocalists to ever come out of the UK. I back that.
Thank you so much.
With my chest. That. I mean, like the power, the range, the control. Like
that's really lovely of you to say. Thank you.
You're as humble as ever. But how have you kind of learned to sing to such a high standard? Because you're not self-taught, are you?
Yes.
You actually are?
No, I've never had...
I heard a rumour you had, I was like, surely not.
No, I had... The only time I've had a singing teacher, which, by the way, like, I think singing teachers are amazing. Like, I had one... the only reason I didn't is I didn't even know it existed. Like, when I started, like, I tried to learn the flute once, and I got a flute teacher, but I didn't know anything beyond... I don't know, like, I wanted to sing Iron Maiden. So where would I find a teacher? Like, starting out, I just didn't know these things existed. So I meant it when I said I'd put on like Journey in the CD player and sing along to Steve Perry or Earth, Wind and Fire or Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin. So when you sing along to those, you start recognizing, it's almost like imitation at the beginning.
Yeah.
You find out where they're singing from in their face, because it's rarely anything is actually happening here. Mm-hmm. It's all like face shape. And that's why if you look at some singers, they have a certain, they look at like Michael McDonald, he's got his voice because it's like he sings in a totally different place, like here, than most people do. Or like Stevie Wonder's way high, like do I do, like it's kind of almost in line with the ears. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I love that shit. I love kind of listening and deciphering like how people are doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that because there's no kind of rule book.
Yeah.
But I did, to shout out Annabelle, who was with me when we went to Turin for Eurovision. Like, I knew it wasn't exactly, I was even looking for a vocal coach. I was looking for someone that knew what I was going through with talking all day, every day. Interviews, waking up with like no sleep, and just a buddy. And she's so amazing, like just to kind of keep me on track. And it's kind of like having a personal trainer, really, for that moment in time. Like, I know what I need to do for my voice, and I don't want to kind of, with so much respect, I don't want to change, because what I did got me to where I was.
Absolutely, and that's what people love and have connected with.
But it was kind of just like making sure someone was telling me to shut up when I should shut up. And like, because I get overexcited, like, and
you're having a chat, and they're like, no, not right now. Go on vocal rest.
Exactly, and just a support, like a friend to support, you know. So that's the only time I've had one. And for that like period of time, like I guess it was like 2 weeks or something, it was just amazing. Maybe it was, I can't remember how long it was, because that is a blur.
That'll be so inspiring though to people listening and watching, that you basically just learn from, you know, records of the greats, watching videos of them. Like, it just shows anyone can do it.
It's so important to let people know that you can do that, because now it's way more widely known that there are like, even like Brit schools, or I met some of the people from Grammy U, which is kind of their version of the Brit school over in the US. And those places, amazing, so cool. But I didn't know they existed when I was growing up. And I bet there's some people watching this or listening to this that can't access things like that, whether it's because of location or where they are, or just like their circumstance, right? But had I known there were things like that I couldn't access, I'd have more compounded the belief in myself that it's not possible for me. But it totally is. And it's not to kind of chastise anyone that can access it, because all the love to you. We're all on the same like blazing trail of hope and like totally. Dream chasing, you know. It's hard for all of us. But a special shout out to those, I think, that can't get anywhere close to a foot in the door anywhere, because for me, that's also where the fucking amazing music comes from. Totally. Like the stuff that really bubbles under the surface and isn't just a moment in time in the singular. It's a scene. We're talking about Britpop. Yeah. Like that's the last time we really took it to the US, right? Like if you look at kind of even charts at the moment, it's like an American dominance, which is sick because the music's amazing and it deserves it. But I know what is amazing about the UK and what we're so good at is actually creating a scene.
Yeah.
It's what we naturally do with music. Whereas it's like just the Beatles back in the day and the era of just rock and roll, or like the late 60s, and then like Laurel Canyon in the US joining the fight with like the Byrds and the Turtles. And I could go on for ages, but like we are probably on the cusp of something similar here in the UK, and I'm buzzing for it. And I'll tell you what, that music's going to come from somewhere no one expects.
Yeah.
It won't come from any institution. And again, I can't say with my chest enough that that's not kind of chastising the institution, because they're so important for a certain amount of people and a certain group of people. Like when I was at the Brits the other day, I was chatting to some of the guys who go to the Brit school, and there were some of the coolest people like there on the night, because you know what the Brits is like, it's so sick, but all the artists are actually kind of, they're less stoked than the kids at Brit school who are on the sidelines, have no idea what their future holds for them yet, what if their dreams can even come true, or like what's going to happen, but they're buzzing because they're just near it. And I think I love being around that energy because it reminds me what it's all about. Yeah,
well, because it's hard, isn't it? Music's not an easy industry, as you found out. You know, you put in such hard work before you got your success.
15 years before even like a kind of a nod, that I said, like a little pat over the back and over the threshold of the door. But you're still just in the lobby.
Yeah,
that's
waiting.
when the work begins. Yeah.
But then it started happening. You started getting these comments and interactions with artists. What's been the most surreal kind of conversation you've had with, you know, a fellow artist? Has there been anyone that's given you some amazing advice?
My most surreal, it wasn't even a conversation. It was more like a fly on the wall. I was playing with Queen at Wembley Stadium. I can't say that calmly.
I was going to say, you can't, that's just a clang, isn't it? But it is what it is.
I just don't know Wembley statters.
Just walked out, you know.
Yeah, and I was just watching Brian May, Roger Taylor, and Dave Grohl, and actually the whole Foo Fighters with Queen, basically. They were sound checking. It was so sick because they're all kind of playing their guitars and just like, it sounds like any sound check you've ever heard. So just a cacophony of nonsense. Everyone just playing their own thing. And I was like, yes, that's a tick on my sheet, because every sound check's like this. Sick. And then Brian May turns up and he turns his amp on, and it's the loudest thing you've ever heard in your life. Just that Vox AC30 just absolutely clattering through Wembley Stadium. And then everyone looks at him and they walk over to his amp. They're like bees to honey, because this amp, you've never heard a guitar sound as good as this. And everyone walks over to it and they're like, what new pedals you got, Brian? Like everyone's looking around the back of it, like seeing what microphone is using, like everything. And I was like, I fucking love this, because this is exactly like my first band practice.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in Wembley Stadium. It was at Stag Studios in Whittam.
Whee!
But yeah. Woo. And but it's the same. Everyone like is looking at each other's gear. Is kind of like, oh, what pedal you got? That sounds sick. And these guys are at the pinnacle. They're at the top of the mountain of rock and roll and of just music in general. Like it can't be counted what they've done for music.
Oh, yeah.
It's seismic, but they're still just kids that are buzzing to play music.
Just music nerds, right at the core of it. Okay, a performance like that, like you say, absolutely huge. Like, easily the stuff of your dreams.
Yeah,
growing up,
beyond dreams. You can't dream that, but why would you dream that? Like there's a difference between almost like dream and I don't know, like mental delusion.
Yeah, like Sam, are you okay?
One day I'm going to sing with Queen at Wembley Stadium. Stupid.
How do you make sure that you enjoy those moments? You really take it in, because it's such a big deal,
I made sure.
Right? It could go by like in a blur or be overwhelming. How do you kind of get into a zone to really take it in?
I refused that night to let myself get in my head.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is too important, like to treat it importantly, actually, almost. Like, of course it was important, but I wasn't like sat there like warming up constantly thinking, oh, this is a big moment. This was just a moment in time that I wanted to enjoy as a fan, not as like part of it almost. I remember my friend was filming as I ran out and I just shouted into his camera. I've still got the video, like, I'm going to enjoy every second of this.
Yeah, that's what made me think of it. You're like, and you're so like present.
Yeah, because I was just like, I don't want to like be that guy's like, and then go out. Like, you can take yourself. There's time for that. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
That felt to me not the time. Like, this was a moment of celebration of someone's life who was gone far too soon. Like, whose energy actually was that.
Yeah.
Like, Taylor was like probably the best drummer on the planet.
Absolutely.
And not just in his like ability, but in the intention. We come back to that intention, right? Is the energy he played the drums. There's people that can get around the kit faster or like with more like virtuoso technique, but I do not care. Like, because the way every single hit weighed a pound a piece. Like, he was just an animal. Like, watching him was just like, I bet there you could put someone who, the person that was more of like a virtuoso behind the kit, and you put two kids like watching those drummers, I bet you Taylor will inspire the kids to play drums more than anyone else, because they look at him, they're like, I'm seeing a force of nature in front of me living his purpose. And that's what makes people want to play music.
Have you ever struggled with like overthinking though, going into a performance, going into the studio to lay down vocals? Have you ever had those moments where you get really in your head?
Yeah. And that's when you got to stop and go. That's why, like, most of the vocal recordings on my records, or actually this record coming out, are the demo vocals, because you just try and get them again, and then you get in your head, you practice them too much. I mean, put it this way, when they were like making all amazing like Motown records, you think like Aretha was going in one day singing her vocal and then go, it's not quite right, I'm going to go back and do it again and like practice it. No, she was just getting the mic out, blasting it, and just that's it.
Yeah,
that's the take, and it's probably done in one go.
Yeah,
like we I don't know. There's such a thing as too many shots. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Too much time, like too much manipulation.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. And these are tools, and some of them are amazing when they keep us in the moment, because you can use those manipulation tools to create something completely new. Not like Fred again's able to do. It depends. In your heart if you're using those tools to overthink and procrastinate or blaze trails.
There's something to be said for that. Yeah, authenticity, isn't there? Capturing that live vocal performance, and the performance that announced you to the world and obviously will be forever remembered is that night entering at Eurovision. And obviously you will have spoken about this quite a lot. You still love it with all your heart.
Yeah.
But I wondered if there were like any special moments that, as fans and as viewers, we didn't get to see. This was such an amazing experience for you, a real whirlwind. What stands out to you when you kind of reflect back? I
remember being in my pants, laying on a floor when Graham Norton walked into the room and introduced himself for the first time. I think it was the day of the jury final. I was laying on the floor, like naked except for my pants, with a fan just pointed at me, blowing hot air at me, because like it was so hot and I'm so bad in the heat. I'm rubbish. Yeah, like Irish blood, it's just bad. Like, so, and he just walks into the room and I'm like, Graham, fuck. And he's super and like, bless Graham, right? Because Graham's got this thing with Eurovision, which I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying, but like he feels a bit tentative in getting to know you, because I felt this energy anyway at the beginning, because he's so used to being around people that end up being disappointed. And it's hard to be around that energy every year. Like, there's only so much comfort you can give like a new person every year. Oh, don't worry, it's not the end of the world, even though you think it is, and stuff like this. So I think he kind of, hey, what's up? Good luck. And kind of, if it doesn't go well, I won't see you because I'm on a different flight, sort of thing, like, but bless him. And it was in such a loving way. I totally understood it. But then we really got to know each other quite well. I ended up playing at like a really special event for him, like his wedding, and just getting to know him a bit. Like, he was a really cool dude, and he met me in my pants.
Well, that's quite the introduction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any other standout moments? Maybe clothed?
Yeah, clothed moments. Let me think.
You're like, are there any?
Yeah. Now that you say it. Trying to think things that I haven't told anyone about yet. I remember like talk about actually taking something very seriously. That was something I did take very seriously, because it felt to me like you don't get to wear, like, I was rubbish at football growing up, but you don't So I was never going to wear the shirt for my country playing that. But Eurovision was wearing the shirt for singing.
Yeah.
I felt like, and I took it really like, I heeded the responsibility, you know, like, because I'm a big fan of it. It wasn't just this thing that I kind of saw as an opportunity to see what it could grant me, because I went into it very much making peace with the fact this will probably go not the way I want, but I will refuse to let that define me. This is a moment in time I want to be part of, to like, I don't know, be involved in something I love. And it's basically like, I know I love Lewis Hamilton's kind of intention and energy around things like that. Just because he's not in the fastest car and he might not be winning Grand Prix, he's still kind of almost, you don't have to, I don't know, just because you're not winning don't mean you're losing. Do you know what I mean? If you're holding a certain grace, or if you aim to at least. So like, I don't know, just wanted to go through it the way my parents would be proud, the way they raised me, and that was my main intention, and sing good on the night, hopefully.
Yes.
Touch wood.
Which you did. I mean, it's so funny hearing moments, you went into it with that mentality, just being like, I'm going to enjoy it
was like for
what it is.
It was just like no drink, no talking if I didn't have to, like no bad food, tried to keep late nights to like the bare minimum. And like, yeah, I wouldn't talk for a long time, like unless I was singing. That's why like Annabelle was great, like making me sharp. And I have like plaques around my neck saying like, I'm not talking.
Yeah. Do not
like,
speak to me, because I love a chat.
I hate that, like the energy that could give. So I put like on vocal rest, smiley face, like.
Oh my God, that's like triggered me back to like, do you remember sponsored silences at school? We used to do that for charity. And I was like, I'm really struggling with this. I can't do it.
Yeah. Sam, I've got a massive mouth. I just love chatting. As you can see, like we probably ran over time.
Yeah,
I think,
we absolutely love a chat. But it's safe to say it went very well. Obviously, what an amazing achievement. The highest UK scoring entry ever. Just phenomenal. What do you think the winning formula is for Eurovision? As someone that's done very well, what's your guess?
All I can say, what I did, I went into it with the same intention I went into making those videos. I really don't know. I loved every second of it. I was prepared for it to go the complete other way. When it didn't was a seismic shock to the system, and I was just grateful the whole time. Like I don't know.
If only we knew, I suppose.
Yeah. But I don't like the kind of like, I don't know, the chasing the success of something like that isn't what the heart of it's about. Like Eurovision, for that year especially, it really showed its heart, because it was about shining light into darkness. Like, no matter, like, I won't get political or anything like that, it's not my place, but regardless, there was a lot of darkness in the world at that time, and still is now. But at that time, it was incredibly prevalent around that moment, and it shone a light at that moment. And I remember even coming back the summer in the UK after that, there was a real sense of unity. And whether that was helped in part with the Platinum Jubilee and stuff like that, it's just, there is quite a memory of that time being, I'm not saying it's the age of Aquarius, like there was, there's always stuff going on and people would disagree, but there was an energy, I feel, around then. And for me, that's what talking of institutions, that institution is about. It's not getting on the scoreboard. And I think like people, I lost at everything for 15 years before it started going right. Like it can go right in a moment. And just because it might not be going right on a score sheet doesn't mean it's not going right elsewhere, in your spirit and your, like, I don't know, if you're keeping your head in the right place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. No, totally.
Sense?
It's about intention again, isn't it? And Eurovision is such a celebration of inclusivity, isn't it? And pure joy. And as long as you're tapping into that, it's great.
You can't win at inclusivity.
No, you can't.
Do you know what I mean?
But
or you can't even win at music. What are we talking about? Like even award shows and stuff like that. They've only been around I'm trying to think of when. Actually, I'd love to know when the first music award show happened, because it was probably definitely within the last 100 years, less than the last 100 years. Before then, music, like if you go back millennia, music and dance as behaviours, not talents. Like everyone did them, because it was like, if you look at it on a tribal level, not to get like mad deep all of a sudden on this, but it's a valid point, right? We're only kind of in recent history industrializing music in a way that we hand out awards for it. You can't win at music. You can't have the best album in the UK. How can you possibly know? There's some kid out there that hasn't released something that will probably blow everyone's mind.
Yeah.
Like, and I get why they exist. It's amazing. But like, if you don't win something, like, take it from someone who knows what it's like to not win something. It's not a big deal. Like, I know how it feels to feel like you're never gonna win, or get your moment. I really know how it feels to be in that spot, and I sympathize with people that also feel the same way, because it can feel isolating. And I just want to say, keep going.
What matters, I think, is the music, the connection, and then the memories you make from that. And obviously Spaceman, what a song. And this was one that just poured out of you, right? Happened really quickly.
Segue, by the way. That's a pro.
That's why I get paid the big bucks, baby. I don't, by the way. But thank you.
I even forgot the segue was so outstanding. I forgot the question.
Spaceman was a song that just poured out of you, right? You wrote it really quickly.
Yeah. Again, just buzzing to be in the studio. One of my first sessions with other people. I didn't know that existed. Like co-writing a song, just didn't know that was a thing. And met Amy and Max that day. And in my head, I was just saying, like, don't be the worst writer in the room. And I probably still was, because they're amazing. But yeah, just we all like brought just a lovely energy to that song. It just happened in moments. And
I want to ask you a little bit about Amy Wadge, because I feel like she's a name that people will know from the credits of obviously Ed Sheeran songs. But she's worked with loads of huge artists now. It's like John Legend, Kylie, I think, Pink. What do you think makes her such a brilliant person to work with from your perspective?
I think she's got lived experience. Like what she's singing about comes from real joy, real pain. Like, she is someone that's been through the ringer. It's not I won't like go into like her story to say, but what I will say is that she's an amazing force of nature. Like, she's it wasn't handed to her. She didn't have again a leg, like a foot in the door in the industry or anything like that. She kind of she learnt hard lessons by just chasing a dream. And that's what makes good writers, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. Another song of yours I absolutely love is Tiny Riot. I feel like I listen to that.
Another Amy and Max, same team.
Yeah, the dream team. And I feel like I listen to that and I'm like, I can do anything. I can take on the world, you know. Is it important for you that your music is kind of empowering and uplifting? Is that something you're always thinking about?
Well, like, I just feel like at that moment in time, when I wrote that song and when everything kind of like kicked off, naturally the music was going to take that tone, because it was like 15 years of chasing it for it to happen seemingly overnight. Like, there's a euphoria that it's like, thank God. Do you know what I mean? I finally, like, I might not have got in the way that I thought I was going to get in, but I didn't stop climbing the mountain. I found a little window somewhere and got in the castle or something like that, you know? Like, but so yeah, a lot of the music in that first record, it is that kind of like, thank God we made it. You can probably make it too. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I think people have resonated with that across different, like, mad age ranges too, which is crazy. When you go to the shows, like, it's like on a tiny, like, Petri dish sized scale compared to Coldplay, but it's the same kind of age range of audience. Like, it's kind of everyone who I guess whether it's they feel empowered or they want to feel empowered, or that there's hope and reason to have faith. And and naturally, like, the next record is taking a different tone because I'm at a different point in my life, and there's more to say that beyond those kind of emotions. But I know that those people will resonate with it too.
I feel like there's such a beautiful sense of community at your shows, which must mean so much to you.
Well, because you came to the Apollo.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I remember seeing you
that
after
was
that.
incredible.
Thank you. It was
my
mad.
2 pals. We had just the best night. It felt quite like emotional in the crowd. Actually,
that was an emotional night because a few nights before, the record label that I was on, Parlophone, basically the 2 co-presidents and a few of the core members of the team that got the project to where it was were let go of. Ouch. So it was, and what a testament to what the music industry is like, right? A real realization, because in my mind I was like, and I wasn't naive that these things don't happen. We all know the music industry is a bit of a revolving door, right? But I thought that I could, if I did everything I could to make sure we reached all our kind of goals, like #1 albums, like selling out the tour, or just things like this, that thing wouldn't happen to my team. You know, everyone would be able to stay together, and then we did everything and beyond, and it's like the kind of the merciless scythe of the boardroom, kind of comes down wherever it wants, in different territories, different labels. And I saw that, I was like, I never want to be in a position like that again. So luckily we hadn't signed on to the next album yet, but we had a chance to go somewhere else with those people that were let go of. But it was really, really an emotional time, because that night was meant to be a real celebration of everyone from the label coming together and being like, this is what we've built. And it was kind of ripped away from a lot of us. And so that was if that night felt emotional, it's probably that's why.
At that point, you had a #1 album, all the Eurovision success, sold out some huge shows.
Things you couldn't have dreamt of, really.
Yeah, well, things you'd worked so hard for at this point since you were a teenager. It was all coming true. Did you at any point think, I've gone and done it, I've, as we say, made it? Or do you think that's just an ever-changing question?
I don't think anyone ever thinks that.
Really?
I truly don't think.
You must have had some moments where you think, I'm nearly there.
No,
done it.
You get tested, I think, every time, and I notice it now. It's almost like just a learned behaviour. When something amazing comes in, it's like the balance of life, like yin and yang. Someone will come in that is a bit of a shit sandwich, really, and it will test your gratitude, because it's so easy to say you're grateful when, I don't know, if you're holding a Grammy, or you're
so true,
you're opening up your tour at the O2, thank you.
Of course, I'm grateful.
So I have a bunch of flowers, sick. I'm so grateful. That's easy. But when life throws you the haymakers, that's when you got to remember your presence and your gratitude, because I think that's how you kind of and in that way, you don't ever over celebrate the highs, and because of that, you won't ever kind of get dragged down too much in the fathoms from the lows. You just kind of follow a certain balance. I don't think that a lot of people feel that they've made it, because we so often, all of us, and I'm saying all this stuff, but I still get caught up in it, those lows that make you think I'm miles away, but I'm really kind of aiming to follow that sort of middle path.
You seem very grounded, and I actually wondered if that's because you had a lot of your success when you were in your 30s, so you just appreciate
thank God I did.
For what it is, right? You enjoy each moment as it comes, and you're not getting kind of too swept away with it.
What is needed, I guess, and what is expected from an artist today at that age, because I don't know, I feel like that would have taken me out of the moment, whereas now I feel like I'm equipped. I don't know. I feel grateful that it's happened now. I really feel like I can, even just having this conversation's lovely, and being able to chat to you about not just what's going on the surface layer, that's something that becomes more of a joy later, I think.
Something I'm really excited about is the new era.
Yes, so we're coming out of, let's call it the jumpsuit era.
Yeah, jumpsuit era part.
It's done.
Yeah. And we're going.
They're all in my loft in a bag. Actually, a mouse bit through one of them.
No.
Yeah. I accidentally left some throat sweets in an old touring suitcase up in my loft. A mouse found it. A lone mouse. I don't have a nest of mice and mouse, thankfully. I got that verdict. Like there's only a singular mouse.
Oh, okay, that's good.
And but yeah, one of the jumpsuits is bitten
no.
through. So it's actually quite a I don't know. It feels poignant.
It does.
That's the end of that era.
Yeah. Okay. What are we calling this new era then?
I don't know. Erratic beard era. Actually, maybe. Log cabin in Nashville era.
Yes.
Maybe. I think, no, we're going to call it the frontier soul era. Because I'm making, the music's way more, it's just soul music, but like inspired by all the westerns me and my granddad watch, still do, like since I was a kid growing up, with like Tarantino, like bit of the desert in there, some kind of very like analog approach to recording. So for me, like the frontier isn't just like the sort of the desert, it's about like unexplored boundaries that you haven't been beyond, like in music or in life before. So that's definitely what I'm doing now, and I'm calling the genre frontier soul, which I think sounds dope. So we're going to call this the frontier soul era.
Yeah, and I'm so excited for people to hear it because it feels like something's really clicked this time around. Not that I didn't love your debut album, but the sound of this, it just suits your voice so perfectly. What's been the journey to get here?
I don't know. I love when you sing something and if it looks like you're not the person that's meant to be singing the songs. There's something cool about that, but you need to meet a sort of world. So even just like changing, like switching things up, even like tiny, it sounds stupid, but just like moving your hair in a different way, or like obviously clothing is an easy way to kind of like find something. But yeah, I love it. And like all the different sounds in the studio, really it's kind of going back to, for me, like the intention of making music in 2019, like when it was just me in my studio with like synths, like in fact a bunch of these synths behind you, like I've got on mine, and just old tape machines and things that take ages to use but are so organic. And like I don't know, I just love touching like dials and massive like clunky like gears on old music equipment. Like I just love that as the process of making music instead of being on the laptop all day.
And writing the whole thing in Nashville as well. That's got to be like the best adventure.
Yeah, well, like Nashville and I go back like 12 years. I've been heading out there, and I finally got a place there. Lois and I got the keys to our log cabin about 5 months ago. That's so cool. Sick. And can I flex actually quickly here?
Go on, anytime.
Gary Barlow came over for tea 2 days ago, and it was mental because we were watching like just some absolute dross on telly, but it was like bad stormy day, and I knew Gary was in town, but I was like, I love Gary, I want to see him, but right now I'm also loving being a piece of shit.
Yeah, I'm having just a rot day and I'm loving it.
I'm a rotten mess. And then he texted me saying 3 minutes away, and I was like, it was literally like Home Alone, where they're late for the airport. Everyone trying to clean the table. The table looks like a junkie's, like lighters from the fire, and just like dirty. Do you know what I mean? Just like the kind of sort of, it's not, I'm not going to call it squalor, but just only that you and your closest loved one could sort of tolerate, because you're just relaxing. And yeah, we were just like cleaning shit so quick. It like comes in the door all breathless and like, hey Gary, that's like all wired. But he's a legend. Like he's been a pal for a few years now. So yeah, I really hate that story kind of is a bit of I maybe have a flexing nature. And
I'm sorry, if I had dinner with Gary Barlow, you would never hear the end
It wasn't quite dinner. It was like, actually, yeah, we gave him loose leaf tea, but we didn't have a strainer. So it was just hot water with a bunch of grass basically floating around in it. And I definitely know he wanted builder's tea. But we're like, oh, we got this. And he was like too polite to me. Oh, that's fine. Like, drink, there's got grass all in your teeth.
Is he just a legend though?
Oh, he's so lovely.
Like a proper
one. He's so cool. If anyone's going to come around your house on a day like that, especially because we just moved in and we've got like no cups or cutlery, like here's the guy you want.
What kind of things do you chat to him about?
He has been a friend for last 4 years. Like, and been like super close. It's just normal. Like, he's a really hard worker as well. So like, again, away from all the sort of like the glitz of everything, he's just grafting. Like, he's out there trying to write songs for Scores and making stuff for the new record. He's just always working, and he's got a great ethic, and he's got this great story that's his to tell. If you should get him on this, by the way, because he talk about resilience, sort of the chapters and eras of his life that he's been through would be so inspiring for younger artists coming through to really see what it means to have everything and then hit what he would consider at that time to be like everything's nuked. Do you know what I mean? But then I remember him telling me like at moments in his life where he's told himself, I will make it through this. I will come back to and make it to where I know my potential like can take me. And it was so inspired. The way he said it was way better than that, by the way. It was crap. But like how he said it, I was like, that's so sick. And I love just someone being open and really honest in a way that like just paints them in a true light.
What a songwriter as well. He's absolutely unbelievable, isn't he? But lovely little sidestep to Tea with Gary Barlow is what we do. Yeah. But let's go back to you in this era, right? I want to ask you about White Lies. Obviously, that's the first song that we've heard.
Yes.
What's the story behind this one?
Well, White Lies is, I think for me, looking back at like when everything kicked off in lockdown and 2020 and all that sort of stuff, I noticed a lot that... how do I put this? Like in interviews and stuff like that, I find it awkward to talk about this, but in interviews, people would say like, how are you so positive and stuff like that? And I found it really, first of all, it's the nicest compliment I think anyone could give. So I was so grateful and thankful for that because it's lovely for someone to say that to you. But I think I started treating that maybe as, I don't know, like a dog getting a treat. Do you know what I mean? So like we're all completely not like singular in our like emotions and energy. We're all like vastly different than just being one thing. You know, all of us are. And I can say to you with like my whole heart, truthfully, that I feel blessed that I am a happy person. Like I feel like I have an optimism because I've needed to have that because if I didn't, like I'd have just, I mean, God knows what happened because if I wasn't deluded and optimistic, I don't know where I'd be now, you know? So I had to learn to really like have that as a kind of, I don't know, just a behavior pattern really. But I never wanted to come into this and sell what I was trying to promote. It's how I kind of make sense of it. Like selling what you're trying to promote to me is like having something and then not just being it, but almost using it as currency to get something that benefits you. And I felt like I was doing that, but telling myself I wasn't. So a white lie, basically. And I kind of hate to admit it in a way. I feel awkward about it, but I definitely, if I'm being really kind of, I don't know, just cutting through the shit and talking to you plainly, I think that was something that was going on in my mind because you kind of, when you get the dopamine kick of everyone being like, mate, you're so like you're happy all the time. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can be happy if you want. Do you know what I mean? And like...
But you're a person with layers and actually being positive is a choice, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was kind of like a defense mechanism. Like, I needed to have it because, I mean, I think delusion's one of the most amazing things you can have as an upcoming artist.
I love to be Delulu.
If you're not Delulu energy, you're done for. Because you've got nothing else at that age. When you're like 14 and you realize you're singing in the mirror and you're learning guitar and you're like, I want to be like, I've just been to see Sum 41. Maybe I'll be on stage at Wembley Arena one day. Like, if that's not delusion, what the hell is?
But
like,
you need that energy.
You need it because you've got nothing else at that age. You don't have any like. Well, most of us don't have any like money or contacts. You're kind of, your parents also, if you're lucky, are supporting you. If you're unlucky, they're telling you to like grow up and get an actual job. So like, thank God for delusion. Like it's a superpower.
And this song sets up the next era perfectly, would you say?
Yeah, definitely, because it kind of it takes accountability for me about that. Like I said, truly, I am a happy person. Like I've got my dragons to slay, like everyone else, you know, everyone's got their darkness and stuff like that, but that's just life. But I consider myself to be very blessed because I'm happy because of my parents and my partner and the way I was raised. And also, like you said, about the time, it took, because when you don't get something for such a long time, the gratitude bursts when it finally happens, you know, and you're kind of in a state of real thankfulness and awareness that it's through you, not of you.
Yeah, totally.
Really. And that's so, like, for me, that's kind of like the North Star. Like, anything that happens is kind of like, wherever that's come from, thank you. And I'll just do my best to always put that gratitude first and never try and, I don't know, for me, like I said this before a couple of times, but like, music owes me nothing, because to even know what you want to do in your life is such a rare thing.
Yeah.
Like, for us to even like you guys working the cameras or being in presenting, to know that that's something that you love doing and being in that industry, how many people have come and gone and are on, like, doing their thing now that just don't know what they want to do. So even to have, like, that spark fulfilled and that purpose, even just being on a path, is like, is gold.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolute, like, stuff from heaven.
Yeah.
So for me, like, that's why talking about even Eurovision, stuff like that, it makes it ridiculous then when you think about a scoreboard, because nothing owes you anything past that. That's like the divine to find that, I think.
I know our listeners will be really interested in this. When you're not, you know, singing your head off or making music, what do you do, like, in your downtime? What does a day off look like in Sam Ryder's world? Are you bed rotting like you spoke about earlier?
No, it's
Is
so
that a one-off?
rare.
Is that a treat?
So rare. Yeah. That's because me and Lois hadn't spent time with each other properly for, I think, coming up to like 3 months. We were
no way.
like, we've never been alone together. Like, because it's just been hectic, you know,
Yeah.
and for good reason. Like, we're buzzing, like, everything's going the way that like we want it to. But, you know, nothing comes easy.
No.
Like, those things you need to chase. So moments like that are precious. So it's like, it was a really stormy day as well. Like, there were actual tornado warnings.
Oh, wow.
And we were just like, I'm actually buzzing that it's a cozy day. If the sun was out, I'd be livid, because we'd have to do something.
I have loved this conversation and all of the tangents that we've gone on. So
a few
much
tangents, actually.
Quite a few. There is still so much greatness to come from you, and I'm excited for this
Mate,
new
bless.
era. Sam Ryder, everyone.
Yeah, good luck editing this, please.
What a sweetheart. Genuinely might be the nicest man ever. Thank you to Sam Ryder for being such a great guest, and thanks to you for listening. Let us know in the comments who you think we should chat to next. The Eras podcast is a Good Karma production recorded at Metropolis Studios. Bye for now.